Hi friends, today we're doing Unit 9, Lesson 1. We're going to start by going over the key vocabulary words you'll be hearing in today's reading. Our first word is explorer, a person who sets out to find new things. Our next word is conquistador, a former warrior, usually from Spain, who took control of something by force. And our last word is funding, money provided for a special purpose. Introduction to the Age of Exploration. In 1491, most Europeans did not know that North and South America existed. The people of the Americas did not know that Europe existed. Although other explorers had visited the Americas before, Europeans did not know that. In 1492, that changed. In that year, Christopher Columbus sailed across the Atlantic Ocean and accidentally landed on islands off the coast of the Americas. His explorations marked the start of the Age of Exploration. An artist's illustration of Columbus landing in the New World. As news spread about what Columbus had found, men from all over Spain raced to find treasure. Spanish conquistadors such as Francisco Vasquez de Coronado set out in search of silver and gold. They slashed their way through swamps, they marched across deserts, they explored and conquered many lands. A few years later, other European countries got involved. John Cabot went exploring for England, Henry Hudson explored for England, and for the Netherlands, Samuel de Champlain explored for France. These explorers changed the world. They connected Europe with the Americas. You will read about some of their journeys here. So this chart is some of the European explorers. We have our explorers, their names, and their source of funding. So Christopher Columbus was funded by Spain. Francisco Vasquez de Coronado was also funded by Spain. John Cabot was funded by England. Henry Hudson was funded by England and the Dutch East Indian Company, or the Netherlands, and Samuel de Champlain was funded by France. Chapter 1, The Lure of Spices. Many European explorers were hoping to find gold and other precious metals. You can probably understand why explorers were eager to find gold. Gold is a valuable metal, even today. However, you may be surprised to learn that many explorers were also excited about finding spices. You might be saying, spices, really? Why were they so eager to find spices? Here's the answer. Things that are scarce or hard to find tend to be expensive. That's why gold is expensive today. That's also why spices were expensive 500 years ago. Back then, spices were scarce in Europe. They were hard to find, so they cost a lot. Some spices were almost worth their weight in gold. This is an image of gold. This is an image of spices displayed in a spice market. The red balls in the center of this image are red peppercorns. A cook can add a few whole peppercorns to soup. He can use a spice grinder to grind the peppercorns into tiny bits. Either way, the peppercorn will add flavor to the soup. It will make the soup spicier and tastier. To the left of the red peppercorns, you can see white peppercorns. These come from the same plants as red peppercorns, but they are prepared in a different way. White peppercorns start out as red peppercorns, but the outer hull of the red peppercorn is removed to reveal the inner kernel, which is white. They can be used in the same way as red peppercorns. The black bowl in the upper right of this image is filled with cloves. Cloves are dried flower buds. They are used to add flavor to meats and stews, some teas, and pumpkin pie. Cloves are very strong. Cooks who use them must be careful because adding too many of them may overwhelm other flavors in the dish. Peppercorns can't be grown in Europe. They can only be grown in warm, wet places like India. The image shows unharvested peppercorns. Today we can get peppercorns from India pretty easily. An airplane or a ship can transport large amounts of them. You can go to a grocery store and get almost any spice you want. A little jar of cloves might cost $1 or $2. A can of peppercorns might cost $5 or $6. 500 years ago, Europeans were not so lucky. The world was not as well connected as it is today. Spices were hard to get and transport. They cost a lot of money. This is an image of unharvested peppercorns. A Spaniard who wanted pepper would have to pay for a lot more than just the pepper. He would have to pay the cost of shipping the pepper over land all the way from India using donkeys, mules, and camels. It was the same with cloves and cinnamon. These plants could not be grown in Europe. They had to be imported or brought in to Europe from faraway places like the Indies. Many of the spices we use are the flowers, the fruits, or the seeds of the plant. Cinnamon is different. In this case, the part of the plant we use is the bark. Strips of bark are cut off the tree. The outer bark is cut away. The inner bark is kept and rolled up like little scrolls. These are called cinnamon sticks. Cinnamon can also be ground up like pepper. Do you like the taste of cinnamon? Do you like cinnamon on toast? How much do you like it? Would you be willing to sail across an ocean to get some cinnamon for your toast? In a sense, that is what European explorers were trying to do. So in this picture, we have star anise, we have cinnamon, and we have cloves. Chapter 2, Toscanelli's map. An Italian man named Paolo Toscanelli may have been responsible for the Europeans landing in the Americas. Toscanelli was a math whiz, an astronomer, and a map maker. In 1474, he made a map of the world, which he sent with a letter to the King of Portugal, telling how to reach the Indies by sailing west. The king was very interested, but Toscanelli was not correct. On the right side of Toscanelli's map, you can see some parts of Europe in orange. You may know some of them: Ireland, labeled Irlanda, London, England, and Lisbon, Portugal, labeled Lisbona. To the south of Europe, you can see part of Africa. The part Europeans called Guinea is labeled. The Canary Islands just off the coast of Africa are labeled Canary. So the right side of this map is mostly correct. Look at the left side of the map. This side shows parts of Asia, or rather, it shows parts of Asia where Toscanelli thought they might be. Do you see the big island labeled Kapanga? That was what Toscanelli and other Europeans called Japan. They had heard about Japan. They knew it was somewhere in Asia, but they did not know exactly where. Toscanelli put it on his map where he thought it might be. Do you see the land labeled Cathay Mangi? That was what Toscanelli and others of his day called China. They had read about China in a book called The Travels of Marco Polo, but they did not know exactly where it was. Again, the map shows where Toscanelli thought China was, not where it really is. Did you see the islands just south of Cathay Mangi? Those are parts of the Indies. They are the Spice Islands that Europeans were so eager to reach. This is the left side of the map, is what Toscanelli thought there was. Notice that Asia does not seem to be too far from Europe. That was one of Toscanelli's big ideas. He thought Earth was not that big. He thought Asia was probably not too far from Europe, so that's how he drew it on his map. Now imagine you are Christopher Columbus. You want to find a way to get to the Indies. You look at Toscanelli's map. Wow, you say, look at that. Asia is right there. It's not so far from Europe. There's nothing in between but a little water. It would not be hard to get to Asia. Why, I could get there in a few weeks. All I would need to do is sail west. We can never be sure what was in Christopher Columbus's mind when he first looked at Toscanelli's map. We do know he made a plan to travel to the Indies based on Toscanelli's map. Then he set out to find someone who would pay for his voyage. In the end, he convinced King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain to pay for it. So this is the route Christopher Columbus planned to take through here. Now here's the same map with something added. The light blue shows what is really there, not what Toscanelli thought was there. You can see the outline of North America and part of South America. The orange parts of the map show the Asian lands Columbus expected to reach. The light blue outline shows the lands where he actually accidentally landed. Toscanelli's map explains a lot. It helps us see where Columbus got the idea of sailing west to reach the Indies. It also helps us see why he ran into the islands of the Caribbean and why he thought he was close to China. So this is the route Columbus actually took, and this is why he thought he was so close to China. You may now move on to Unit 9, Lesson 1, Google Form.